Hey guys, it's Lindsay here with the Rockwell Group, and I'm here with Ruben.
Hey guys.
And we're chatting a little bit on our video today and our YouTube channel, talking about some vital questions to ask your real estate agent if you're looking to hire someone. So the first question is going to be,
How did you price the home?
how did they price the home? That's like the biggest key part to listing your house is, is it going to get sold fast? Why is it going to get sold fast? Is it going to sit on the market? All those different factors need to come into play, and you need to really, really interview your agent to figure out how they came up with that price.
Yeah, how did they get that number? When did they do? And can they explain really how they price your home? Because here's in Oregon, we've got the weird properties that are out there that, how did you get that price?
Absolutely. Yeah. Acreage. Are we looking at pools? Are we looking at bedrooms? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
How did you arrive at that number? Those kinds of things. So today we're here at Limo Copy, which is local to Medford. There's a couple different locations. One's downtown. We're on the Lear Way, another location, which is behind the old Costco off of Krieger Lake Highway. And we happen to love Malolo. So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Lindsay again with the Rockwell Group, Rockwell Real Estate EXP. We're here talking about some questions that you want to ask your real estate agent when they're interviewing to sell your home. So if you like this video and find value in it, make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely click that little bell button up at the top so you get notifications for any future videos. So again, today, my name is Lindsay, and I'm here with Ruben with the Rockwell Group. And we'll be talking about some questions that you need to ask a real estate agent. One of the biggest key fundamentals is to make sure and just always interview a ton of agents. You never want to go with the first one. You might get a different feel for different people for different things. You want to make sure that it's a good fit. It's like a job interview. It goes both ways, and you just want to make sure that your agent and you are on the same wavelength, have the right expectations, and everything goes according to what you have in mind. We want this experience to be good for you. So, ask those questions. So one of the first ones that I always like to get in there and ask is, how did you, as the agent on this transaction potentially coming in for an interview, how did you arrive at this sales price? So Ruben comes to me, brings me some listing paperwork, and says, this is what I think your home is valued at. Ruben, how did you arrive at the sales price?
So firstly, we like to start with a CMA. So basically what that is, it's a comparative market analysis. So it basically takes homes that have sold surrounding your property. We like to follow 5 rules. So 5 properties that have sold, 5 that are pending, and 5 that are packed in. That way we have a pretty good gist as far as the number, as far as what's actually going on around your property, not stuff that's happened, a year ago. We want a current analysis of what the price would be of your home right now. So that's why we do that. So as far as, price of your home, we take that, we do our analysis. We'll take a look at, the type of, materials on the property, if they've done any upgrades, any repairs, anything that'll help, like, make the costs go up, right? New flooring, anything, new roof, whatever the case. We'll also take into consideration, like I said, bedrooms, baths, through that CMA, to really narrow down the type of home that you're selling compared to what already has sold, what's active, and, what's out on the market. So that's ultimately.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we like to do is we also bring into factor other things, not just sits on the MLS, right? Because how do you find a for sale by owner, right? So we'll look at those and bring those into play and kind of factor that in as well, because that's your competition, So we want to make sure that we look at all avenues, and how does your house compare to the one next door? Does your house have a pool? Is it bigger square footage? All of those things. Are you on a line for a school district or not? Those things can really make a big deciding factor when it comes to pricing your home accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question on that is, what about my home? Like, what makes my home different? Like me as the client, let's ask you, Realtor, what's different about my home?
So what I like to do is go through a walkthrough, see what kind of upgrades you've made, any additions you made to the property, whether that's a new roof, an extra fence room, maybe a shop that you put in that nobody knows about, any additions that you've made, anything that'll help the value of the property, right? Because, no two properties are the same, especially if you've done some work on it, right? So, yeah.
So when you're talking about comparing my home to others, another question I would definitely ask here is, have you sold any homes in my neighborhood? How well do you know my neighborhood? Those kind of things.
Absolutely. So, an experienced agent is going to be able to, know the neighborhood who's sold anything around it, right?
So on that topic, if I were interviewing an agent, I would ask them, what's different about my home? How well do you know this neighborhood? Do you know much about the things that are going around in my neck of the woods? What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of, yes and no to that question. The internet, I think, is such a big thing that, buyers can really figure out those things on their own.
Sure.
So what makes us different and what makes it important for the agent to know the area, to know the neighborhood well, who might have sold some properties throughout the area, is their access to information, right? Somebody who doesn't know the area doesn't know where to go to, doesn't know who to talk to. So somebody who knows the area is going to have those answers pretty quickly for you. Also just an understanding as far as that general market, whereas, an agent who, hasn't sold properties in the area, but just doesn't know the area very well, they will be able to get to those things very quickly or more efficiently, or will have accurate answers. So you want to work for somebody who has or does know the area or has sold around the area.
So, and that goes hand in hand with really interviewing that agent and figuring out if they're a right fit for you. Because if you're going to have the right agent, that agent is going to be really good at determining your motives. Why are you selling? Are you looking to relocate into a better school district? Are you looking for, better opportunity for your kids? Or maybe it's a job that happens to be located somewhere else in town. Those things really play a big factor, especially when you're considering neighborhoods. And so when you really want someone, it needs to be a neighborhood specialist that knows those recommendations of that neighborhood. If you're looking for safety and taking the kids or the dogs to a dog park or something, those are things to really consider when you're interviewing your agent, how well they know those neighborhoods that either you're looking to sell in or where you're looking to buy it.
Absolutely. Well, I think, other questions that people ask us all the time is, one is, can I cancel my contract? Or what does that look like? Or am I locked in anything? I think, what do you have?
Yeah, no, definitely. And you should always ask this, right? You don't want to be locked into a contract and you're unhappy with your agent. It's so important to pick the right person, set the pricing correctly from the beginning, and just be overall happy with your experience. One of the things that we practice at the Rockwell Group is no hassle whatsoever. By law, we have to have listing agreements in place, of course. However, that only means that we are, we have agency to represent you. Now, you're more than welcome to cancel those contracts at any point in time. If we talked about, fulfilling certain agreements like, and staying up on rapport and keeping you up to date, and let's say someone's not doing their job, hey, let's cancel this contract. That's totally fine. What you don't want to do is go with an agent that won't allow you to get out of that contract. If you don't feel like you're best served by that agent, you should have the right to always walk away.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people feel like they're locked into situations where they have, no hope, or they're just, where do I go? So no, we're hassle-free, absolutely. Another big question that I get asked is, what do we do for marketing, right? Because, just listing a property, putting a sign of the yard is great, putting in MLS, but what makes us different as I get in the Rockwell Group, and it makes our marketing superior to other people?
Yeah. So I'm the marketing director here at Rockwell, so I'll be happy to answer this one. With all of our listings, everything gets syndicated out to the bigwigs, right? Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, where everyone can see them. But we go a completely extra step further to service all of our clients. We do everything from mailers in the neighborhood, announcing to all the neighbors that, your home is listed, either once it goes pending or sold. We do those announcements. But in addition to that, we do all kinds of magazine ad placement. We do paid ads on social media. So you'll see a lot of those ads targeting that specific group that's more than likely going to represent your buyer. We do all kinds of different stuff to really push those listings out there more than what your average realtor would do here, especially in Southern Oregon. Well, if we have a very individualized property, we'll even take out ad placement and certain either digital magazine placement or actual print magazine placement. We do also a lot of work with the community. So we're constantly out there, not only representing your listing, but the brand itself. We do a ton of SEO to push everyone back to the website so they can have all the eyeballs right on your listing. We talk about listings very frequently in all of our team meetings, but then also in our local MLS meetings. We really try every different avenue to push your listing out there as much as possible. And especially when we're looking at target market audiences, we do all kinds of different marketing methods for that. So
Absolutely. And those all sound really internet-based and up to the times and everything, but tell you what, we still do the old school open houses. I'm a big advocate of open houses. I love them. I'll just meet people, come through the home and see your home on the inside. I think another big one that I've seen is photos. Yeah, as far as photography, that's a big one that I see. We've got solid photographers that give exemplary photos for every one of our listings. I can't tell you how many times I've seen listings that, it looked like it was taken on on just an old iPhone that's, they found our cupboard. So, we definitely pay for the highest quality photos. So,
yeah, we want your listing to be represented in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, we want you guys to get the highest price for your listing. If before people get into the home's only as good as the photos, because then people will see it, So we want to get people there and show your home represented in the best light possible.
I want to recap on what you just said. You said we want to get the seller the highest amount possible, right? Well, a lot of people believe that, let's reduce your price by however much because, market's in this buying. Just to let you guys know, the more we sell your home for, realistic, be used and honest, the more we get paid. So we want to sell your home for more. So that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to get the seller the most money possible.
Absolutely.
Especially if we're representing the seller side of things.
Absolutely.
So that brings up another question. Many people ask and should be asking is how often do you as a realtor represent both sides? Do you represent the seller or the buyer? Have you done both? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question and one that I would love to answer. So, when a seller, it's a great question. So when a seller sees that the agent has double-ended, double-sided property, what I would say that more so means is, or maybe doesn't mean entirely, but you should be cautious about as a seller is, are they in it for themselves or are they in it for you, right? Because obviously, representing buyers and the sellers of the situation, they'll make twice the money, which I've never done both sides. So and I love that because, it keeps me worry-free. It knows that I'm representing myself or my buyer in the highest regard. So somebody who has done a lot of, both sides, I just question, what's their actual motive? Is it to get paid? Is it to see more money? Or is it to represent the client in the highest regard? So, yeah, I guess that's in short.
Yeah, and, in practice, a lot of realtors do it. A lot of realtors will represent both the seller and the buyer. And often what they'll do is they can also discount the commission because they're taking on both sides of that. Now, the problem with that is just remaining neutral, right? And making sure that you're ethically providing the best service for both clients. And that can be a challenge for some people. However, when it comes down to it, you will have the way that real estate works is you have a guiding principal broker that oversees all agents. And that person is there to oversee all the contracts and make sure that we're doing a fiduciary duty and making sure that we're remaining ethical on both sides of that contract. So those are just good questions to kind of ask and see, if that's a standard practice, and if that's something that this agent that you're interviewing is open for. If you can always negotiate that additional commission breakdown, right? So if you're talking to your agent and you're interviewing them and they say, well, what if I bring the buyer for your listing? Your question to them should then be, okay, would you consider reducing your commission just a little bit? Because then again, they're taking both sides of that commission for that transaction. So then one of the really big questions that you absolutely have to ask would really be, how often as a client am I going to be updated? How often are we going to stay in communication? What does that look like for our relationship now going forward if I sign with you?
Yeah, so general rule of thumb, we reach out minimum once a week, right? So you're going to hear from us every week within the process. We've got a full staff, a marketing team, a listing team, so and tons of agents. So at that point, I mean, you're going to get contacted sometimes more than you'd like. Would you rather stay more updated than not? I think so. Yeah. So we've got a full team ready to gets all your needs, let you know what's going on with the listing, what's going on with the offers that you've been getting, any activity. So minimum once a week for sure.
Yeah. And then, not only once it's listed, but then when it goes into transaction, we have a full team of transaction coordination that, they'll stay on top of it and they'll update you every step of the way, all the way to the day to close. And then to be honest, we'll keep in touch with you after that too.
Yeah. So that's probably the most important.
Yeah, definitely. That communication component is just huge. No one likes being left in the dark. And what you really don't want is to feel like you signed something and then boom, they're gone, right? Like you want to feel like this person is as invested in this as you are, because obviously, it's your largest investment, honestly, right?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. So, you want that realtor to be as involved as you feel like they need to be.
Yeah. I just to add to that, passion is a huge. So if you're not working with somebody who's passionate about what they do and working for you and serving other people, then frankly, it's just it's going to be a monotonous process and just there's not something you want to go through again. So that's why we get bad raps as agents, and good agents give good experiences, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like a number.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, sure. The next big question that I would ask if I'm interviewing an agent, you're in my home, what do I need to do to get my home ready to sell? What would we do right now?
Good question. Let's see. So there's always something that you can do, right? I think the most important thing to look at when it comes to getting your home list ready, it's anybody who walks in there and says there's nothing and it's perfect, let's list now. They're bullshit. More than likely. Well, yeah. Anyway, so what's most important to see about this is you're selling, right? So we want to get some more for your investment. So the goal for me at least, is to spend the least amount and get the most amount for the sale, right? So I can go in there and point out a few things. Does your yard need some flowers in it? Whatever the case, anything that's more inexpensive that's going to get you more in the long run, right? When the sale happens. Anybody who tells you to spend a ton and spiff it up and yada yada, is it really worth all the money you're putting into it when it's not going to change all that much? Well, it's something else to consider. So more money isn't always bad.
Yeah, you also want to be really careful about not overdoing it and customizing it too much, because, that might not be neutral enough for your potential buyer, right? Like if you put too much of your personal touches in that stage, it's kind of a lost amount of money, right?
Yeah, I've seen several times where Porsche will put tens of thousands of dollars only to be disappointed at the end because, it just wasn't worth it. So sometimes simpler is better. What we do best is pointing out the things that are going to make your own worth more for, the least amount of money out of your pocket. Yeah. So at the end, you're the happiest. We get paid more.
One of the things that you really want to consider when you're interviewing an agent to come in, if they come in and just say that your home is list ready, that might not be the right agent for you. And here's why. Because they might not be considering all the factors that go into you personally in your life. If they're walking through your home and they're looking at all of your children's pictures on the wall, those might not be really safe things for you and your family, right?
Absolutely.
So it's up to your professional real estate agent to point those things out to you. So if they're coming in and just saying, oh no, this place is ready, let's do this, let's get the photographer in here, that might not be super safe for you, your family, your children, because those photos are getting syndicated out to Zillow and to Realtor and to all these places that are easily accessible. Yeah. So, sometimes you might want to have that realtor that goes the extra mile, right? That isn't afraid to tell you it's not ready yet, but we're close.
Yeah. And with the way the world's working in the web, it's never too bad to be too safe. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other things with the home that it might not be totally right now. But, you can make little adjustments here and there, and it's really up to your realtor to help you, again, going back to that fiduciary duty, to make sure that the money that you're putting in is a good investment for you to get the money out when you do sell. So another big question that a seller should have is, how are you, as my representation as a seller's agent, how are you going to vet the buyer? How do we make sure that this buyer that's coming along is who they say they are and that they mean business?
Absolutely. Yeah, good question. I'm just going to start by saying all too many times I've chatted with owners who are trying to sell themselves for selling that owner, and one of the biggest one is, oh no, I have an offer, but it went away, or whatever reason. So a big one is making sure the buyer can actually buy your house, right? They might love the house, they might want the house, they might want to put in an offer today, but can they? So one of the biggest questions we ask firstly to any buyer is, are you pre-approved? Basically what that means is they've gone to some kind of financial institution, they've looked at their financials and said, okay, this person makes enough and this person has low enough debt to actually buy this house.
Yeah, and when it comes to even being financeable, we have a lot of people that will come in and say that they're a cash buyer, right? And that's all fine and dandy, but when we're talking about IRS, we need to actually take their money down to title. We need to make sure that money is clean money, that it's been vested, and that it's not just, been under a mattress somewhere for forever, and that we don't know where that money came from. Because guess what? The title company won't take that money, even if it is a cash buyer.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how we vet buyers, and we just make sure to ask the right questions, which we do, to make sure they can actually buy your house. So that you're not wasting your time, we're not wasting our time, they're not wasting their time. So overall, it's just making sure that it can be done.
Yeah. And so just a quick recap on that is, normally the way that you do that is through either a pre-approval from the lender or bank statements that go over title, and they can verify all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Proof of funds is what they call it. Yeah. So another big question we get as agents, I think any seller should be asking their agent who they're considering hiring is, how many homes have you sold?
That's great.
I think it's a pretty important question, right? Because it bets people who have been out of the industry for 5-6 years, people who are actually active and know what's going on. So we've sold almost 450 homes in 2022 personally, and 30 here. So somebody who's done enough business to actually know what's going on, know who to talk to, know the process to make it really easy for you as a seller is what's important for that question. So say let's take for example somebody who a veteran agent who's been doing it for 20 years, but, only sells 5 homes a year. Well, although their names been around for a while, they might not know what to do, who to go to, who to talk to, or the process necessarily as, top of mind as somebody who's, been, such as our team, 450 homes for last year. So I think that's kind of the way to go with that one.
And, I think it's a really valuable question to get data back, right? Get answers, hard numbers. How many actual homes have you sold? How many homes have you sold in this area? How many homes have you sold in this county? And how many homes has your entire team sold?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And it's really important to kind of wade through those numbers a little bit. I've seen this industry can be a little bit ageist, right? I've seen some young agents on our team that actually have a ton of experience. They've sold over 100 homes, but they look really young, right? So without asking that question, a lot of times sellers be like, oh, this kid doesn't know anything. He's too young. He doesn't know what he's doing. That's so far from the truth. So asking that question is super imperative.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you found value in this, again, just a video on some questions to ask your realtor. If you found value in this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to hit that little bell button up at the top. And if you think of any questions that maybe we missed, make sure to leave those in the comments, and, we'll have a nice conversation about it. Let's hear what you guys all have too. But again, thank you, Ruben.
Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. Like she said, anything that we can help, answer, any questions you guys might have, put in the comments, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and cheers with your mellow coffee.